Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure to be introducing a grade 8, the first grade 8 actually in the state of Connecticut. So I'm honored. Um, I would first like to introduce the panelists, which is for you, Daryl McGraw.
Yeah, let's go.
Kelvin Young, Robyn Cullen, Michael Askew, LaResse Harvey, Tiheba Bane, Babs Rawls, and the spearhead of this whole grade 8, the one who came up with the idea, Charles Grady. I would be remiss not to mention Ira Nazario, who is not with us today. So welcome, you guys. Welcome.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
And we're gonna get right into this because I know time is of an essence, and I'm gonna go right to Mr. Grady because he was the one who really thought of this grade 8, and you know, my question is why? You know, you coming from the background of law enforcement and you know, seeing the disparities that happen within our communities, what would make you say, okay, I think these individuals need to be recognized for their successes?
Thank you very much, Corrie. I appreciate the introduction. And I'm thrilled to be here, actually, because I'm seeing a whole lot of familiar faces. And as much as this Building Bridges conference is in some way preaching to the choir, because everyone on this call are the people that do the work. And I appreciate all of you on this call that do the work every day. But it's awesome to be able to integrate and to network with individuals that you otherwise might not have had any contact with. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Career Resources. Thank you, IMRP and Andrew Clark. So really quickly, I have a career in law enforcement, as Corrie just mentioned, 36 years in and around law enforcement. I grew up in and around law enforcement my entire life. And I learned early from 5 uncles who were cops and my father, who was a police officer, captain in rank, that you treat people with respect. And if you treat people with respect, you will see the real people come through. And you asked the question, why? Why someone from my background? Because I'm a firm believer that the only difference between me and Tiheba Bane and Kelvin Young and others of the grade 8 is that I took a left instead of a right at a certain point in my life. It's all about the choices we make and where we are at certain points of our life. So to get to it, I absolutely have been doing work for the past 15 to 20 years, actually. Most people don't know this. I started my first organization called Highwood Youth Association in Hamden for minority mothers, single moms of minority children. And we had a mentoring program in the whole bit in 1993. And so working programs and creating ideas and filling gaps on things that need to be done is something that came naturally to me, again, because of the upbringing that I had, always being around positive images of people trying to help in the community. Public service is how I grew up. And so it was not a big transition for me to be the founder of 2 organizations that help individuals coming home from incarceration every day for the past 6 years, called Hang Time and Her Time. And in that process, doing the work, working with individuals coming home from incarceration, I have a very unique perspective. I worked on both sides of the coin. I worked in law enforcement. I know how law enforcement operates and why it operates the way it does. And I also know some of the things that could be done different to help change people's lives so that they're not brought into the system or that we can get them out of the system. And I just want to touch on one thing really quickly. During that time of learning about public service, I had one of the greatest examples that I know, and he's on this call right now, Mr. Bill Dyson. I was a young man going to events with my father and my uncles where Bill Dyson spoke and inspired me from a young age. And just the other day, I told Daryl McGraw, I'm getting old. I feel like the OG in the game. And I might need to get out soon. And then I see Bill Dyson. I'm like, oh, I ain't going nowhere. Bill Dyson's still in the game. I ain't going nowhere. I'm in it. So story goes like this. I'm in my bed watching the 10 o'clock news about a year ago this week. And I see a familiar face on the news. And the reporter identified that person as a career criminal. A career criminal that is going back to jail for blah, blah, blah. Now I look on that screen and I see someone that I know. And I don't see a career criminal. I see a guy who has a brother, a mother, a sister. He has kids of his own. And I see that he struggles for a multitude of reasons. I know this individual, but he's going back to jail. And his title was career criminal. Now that phrase didn't bother me for a long time in my career because I didn't delve deep into it. But on that night and that evening, it bothered me the most. And I said to myself, I know too many fantastic people that have turned their lives around and do not deserve to have a title that is a negative connotation. Ex-offender, formerly incarcerated, all of those titles. It was my mission from that night to turn titles into something positive for individuals who have turned their lives around and have contributed to their communities and made their communities better. So I started mapping out an idea where we would honor and we would recognize individuals who have done incredible things for their communities after coming home from incarceration. With all the struggles and obstacles that they have to overcome, it is absolutely a momentous occasion when they rise to the top and start their own organizations and help others that are coming out after they are. So I decided to call it the Hall of Change. The name speaks for itself. Not the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Change. And in doing so, I needed to recognize individuals who were standouts, who had been out of incarceration, off supervision for more than 5 years or so, proven track record, proof of concept that they have turned their lives around and are doing great things in the communities that they once created havoc in. That brought me to, how do I go about it? I can't honor every single person every year because that's being done. And I wanted this to be something that they were memorialized in a state museum. Just like the Hall of Fame, I wanted a state-run museum to have and hold the names of individuals that have done incredible work to turn their communities around and made an impact on the state of Connecticut. So I met with museum director, Ms. Liz Shapiro. I met then with Department of Corrections, Commissioner Angel Quiros, and I put together a team, a committee, to review nominations coming in from across the state of individuals who the community put forth and said, these people are doing great work and making change. And we had to narrow it down to an individual number that we could manage, and we could really do justice to those individuals each year and give them a platform to enhance the work that they're already doing, as well as work together as a unit and move throughout the state, educating and enhancing quality of life for individuals incarcerated and those that need to know more about and how to get involved. So I nicknamed 8 individuals that are going to be selected, the final 8 individuals, as the Great 8. And when I tell you, with all the labels that individuals have had over the course of their time coming home from incarceration, this is what it's all about. We are changing the narrative and the view, and we're turning it into a positive thing. So they are no longer have to describe themselves as formerly incarcerated, ex-felon, whatever the case may be. They are the Great 8.
Great 8. Okay. Thanks for that, man. That, time is of an essence again, and I know you can go on about this greatness that you've done, but I want to get into the panel. I want to definitely ask the panel, what does the grade 8 means to them? What does this opportunity means to them? So I want to give them a shot at sharing where they are and what they're feeling. And the floor is whoever want to take the floor on the panel. And what does it mean to you guys?
Ladies first, man. Ladies first, man. Let's do this. Ain't nobody shy on this panel, man. You might have to put a ticker going, man. Time is of the essence. Let's go, ladies first. Tiheba, Robyn, LaResse, whoever, man. Let's go. This is our floor. This is our time to shine. Let's get it.
All right. So hi, my name is Tiheba Bane. I like that. I like that intro. I love how he expressed that. That means so much to me. And you know, I can't really say to you, oh, this means this to me today. This means, because every day is a new day for what being a member of the grade 8 means. In the beginning, for me, it was, yeah, okay, whatever. It didn't have any significance because I didn't understand it. But as time goes on, more and more it grows on me, and I understand more of what it means to be a part of the Connecticut Hall of Change. I don't look at my life and the work that I do to be commended and, you know, praised for. But then it was a time that I was like, okay, I'm doing the work because it needs to get done, because these are my sisters, these are my people, this is my why, right? But then I looked at everybody else that, you know, get awards and get, you know, recognized for their contribution to life. And at the moment of induction, I promise you, at the moment of induction, it came to me to say, why not me?
Wow.
Right? And so every day is a new day for me being part of the grade 8. I was accepted to actually do a video, not a video, but a little what is it called? A commercial on News 12. And I tried for so long to do that, and I wasn't able to do that. I see you, Daryl, I see you. That's right. I left mine home. What? Booyah.
Understand, jackets and all, man. Let's go, man. Y'all playing games, man. You right here, jackets, man. Look, grade 8, man. This is a jacket. Come on, man.
Wait, no.
Why? You asked why, Corrie? Come on, man. Stop playing cheap. You trying to be politically correct.
You don't even know. You don't even know when Charlie Grady came to my office on a Sunday. I'm up here wrapping gifts for the Christmas gift giveaway. And he came to my office with that jacket on Sunday. I promise you, I didn't take it off until I had to wash it.
Wow.
I had that jacket on for so long, like every day. It was like, oh, it was freezing outside. I wasn't cold. I had on my grade 8 jacket, and people recognized. Charlie was like, oh, it got dirty. I said, it's okay, I'll wash it. But that's how much it means to me, right? And thank you, Charlie, for giving me that title, you know, because I don't like ex-con, you know, and all that stuff. And formerly incarcerated was something that I could understand because I'm formally and, you know, I'm no longer, right? But now, in a way in which you put that as saying, you know, you don't have to say that anymore. Who are you? I'm the grade 8, right? That gives me and everyone else on this panel that is part of the first induction of grade 8 a sense of belonging, right? So that's what it is. It's a sense of belonging in a community that that did not want us to belong anymore. And for me, and for, I don't know, for other people, but what it means for me is that the work that I've done is recognized, it's admitted, it's accepted, it's good, but there's still more work to be done. And I'm not stopping because I was inducted, because there's so many more after me.
That's right.
Like there were so many more before me.
That's right.
And that means that I have to live up to that title of being great and make sure that the people that I bring behind me as I lift, as I climb, that they become great as well.
Thank you.
And that's where I'm at.
Thank you. That's awesome. I see Kelvin Young. I know you got something for us, man. Now, what does it mean to you? Again, you know, speak from the heart and let folks know what it is, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Corrie, for for hosting us today as well. And Charlie, really appreciate you and this opportunity to be a part of the Great Eight. You know, it really is an honor and a pleasure to be a part of this distinguished group of people. What does being a part of the Connecticut Hall of Change mean to me? Be a part of the Great Eight. It means really honoring the resilience of being a human being. You know, when I reflect back at, growing up in my household, I have four older brothers. Two of my older brothers been in and out of prison. When the crack epidemic hit our communities back in the 80s, late 80s, it really affected our communities, and it really affected my household as well too. So therefore, seeing them in and out of prison, seeing how crack cocaine really, really changed their lives for the worst, and how I grew up watching them, seeing them, and by the time I was 14, I was getting into my own experiences with addiction, where I was in and out of prison, getting out to doing the same thing over and over again. Graduating from alcohol to marijuana, then to the heroin and the cocaine and the prescription opiates, and I always was in and out of that vicious cycle. But then it came to the point where I was laying in my bunk bed, and just, I got to that point where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And my daughter, Tatiana, she was my inspiration for me to find an inner motivation to make some changes in my life, because I wanted to be the man, the father that my daughter could look up to and be proud of. So being on that bunk bed, thinking about myself and my life while I was in prison, and taking advantage of all the program that was available. And one of the programs that really helped me was the tier 2 program. They call it a therapeutic community, but it was a drug treatment program behind bars. And then I had an opportunity to really go within, to do the inner work I needed to do in order to find freedom from alcohol and other drugs. I was able to come up together with a plan of action, and to really know that I'm not going to be here all my life. I do have a release date, and I will be going home. And really, seeking out that support, that professional support from therapists, clinicians, even my natural supports from the people that truly cared about me, my family, my true friends, and even, the community supports that I was looking forward to, like CCAR and other organizations that I was linking up with while I was in prison. And once I got out and really put all those things into action, and got the support from people that's in my life, particularly people with similar lived experience of being incarcerated, being addicted to alcohol and other drugs, having mental health challenges in their life, and how they changed their life, and how they helped me to change my life. And when I got the call, and not saying that I was nominated to be part of the Great Eight, it was just such an honor and a pleasure, just thinking about my life and where I've been and the experiences that I went through and the challenges that I faced, and how the resilience that people that's been formerly incarcerated have, and it's time to shift that narrative of how people see people that's been incarcerated, and understand that the resilience we have, but we got to put proper support in place for people to shine, to show their resilience. And I'm just grateful that I had the tools and support to help me to show that resilience, and understand that we can, make some, poor choices in our life, but we can learn and grow from them, and move forward in our life, become productive members of our communities. Right. Just having that experience to do that, and being honored and recognized on this platform today, and to really show people that, okay, we make some poor choices, but we can change our lives for the better.
Thanks.
And this is just the beginning for us. We really, looking at system change, not only in the local and state level, but the federal level as well. But just our face and our voice, our presence, we're changing the narrative and the way people see formerly incarcerated people. Thank you so much, Charlie. Thank you so much, the Great Eight, for being a part of this illustrious team.
Listen, so I as me being a moderator, I got the reign back. So I have to give you guys at least 2 to 3 minutes on answering these questions, because I want to make sure I give everybody a chance, and we get through to the questions that I have, because it's so rich and there's so much information that needs to be shared.
Amen? Absolutely.
Connecticut, the state of Connecticut, DOC, museums, as well as hang time, we're the first in the nation to have a program like Hall of Change.
Right.
That's so significant that right now we have other states looking to mimic the idea, the concept. My dream, hopefully, is to have all 50 states represent their grade 8 and have a conference here or in DC annually. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Right.
Who's
Thank
next?
you, Shirley. All right, I'm gonna keep mine real simple. It's February, it's Black History Month. I have made history as a Black woman, right? So my grandchildren's 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 grandchildren is gonna know that whatever you've done, it don't have to be your story. You always have an opportunity to pave your pain into power, make a difference, and be the change you want to be and see in the mirror every day. Grade 8 for life. And the other thing I want to say is, which is really important, we are inducted in the first prison ever created in America.
Wow.
So this is the first time slaves have been recognized, because we all know that the mass incarceration is connected to the slave movement. So I'm just going to keep it like that. Grade 8 for life. Thanks, Charlie. Thank you, everyone, for having me.
Thanks, LaResse. That's tight. I like that. I like that. You went right to the point. Banged us in the head, right? Bless you. Keep up the great work. Who's next? Who's next? Who's next?
Hey, I'll go next. Good morning, everyone. I'm Robyn Cullen. Thanks for having us here this morning. I'm definitely honored to be chosen as an inductee to the first class of Connecticut's Hall of Change. And, simply, why is that, what does it mean to me or whatever? It's an expanded opportunity to be working and hanging out with the cool kids, what I always wanted. So, short, very short story. 21 years ago, I was released from York. I served three for a DUI fatality. While I was there, I used my time to work on myself. I tried to figure out how I landed in prison. I participated in groups, programs. I had opportunities for self-reflection. I learned about addiction and trauma and that recovery requires choices. While I was there, I participated in the Wally Lamb therapeutic writing group. And when I got out, I had the good fortune of continuing that work on the East Coast tour with Wally Lamb. And I had opportunities to share my firsthand experience of prison injustice with people like me who were from middle-class white families that probably had no clue what their tax dollars were doing and were misled. And so I could share what I saw, what I was so blown away by. And, by working on myself in prison, the book tour, meeting so many people. I remember back to the first building bridges. Many of you are still here because we know there's so much work to be done. And, all of it led me to my rich and rewarding work in the field of basically of trauma and recovery. I'm in my 16th year with Judy Dworin. I work at Cybulski and York. We do arts-based programs, helping reunify parents with their children. First, they work on bettering themselves so they can have better family relationships. I've been working at a place called Toivo in Hartford since 2014, working with women on the inside and the outside, women's support, therapeutic writing, things like that. And, the whole thing is that being involved with, doing programs, Stephanie Covington programs, healing trauma, things like that, I've been challenged and encouraged to do so many things that I wouldn't have attempted. I've had opportunities, experiences beyond my wildest dreams. And above all, I've experienced personally and collectively that people can change. So for me, it's a great gift to be able to go back to prison over and over. Well, as long as it's arts related and only through the front door. So I'm honored to be here with my fellow recipients, with all of you in our audience. Thank you all so much for your support. And I totally can't wait to see where we're going as a grade 8. And as Charlie said, let's go national, because this is not just a Connecticut thing, and we have work to do. And you know, together we're so much stronger. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I have Michael Askew.
Yes, good morning, everybody. How you doing, sir? It's a pleasure to be on. Thank you, Charlie and Representative Dyson. You know, I'm honored to be a grade 8 only because, you know, I just remember having a concern of how I was not going to go back to prison, but I just kept going back for reasons of using substances. But 7 times I was able to, once being released, you know, realize that there was something I need to change. And so being honored to be a grade 8 is only because, you know, my process of thinking was I needed to do something that was meaningful and had purpose. And that purpose was that, you know, I remember like Harriet Tubman was like so much of an inspiration, because she was not selfish to keep freedom, but also wanted to allow others to experience that. And so being free from that prison that kept me isolated, I wanted to go back, and so I started going back into prison to helping people understand how to stop going back like I did. And so that was my inspiration when I got out back in the early 90s. I started recognizing the value that I brought to the table as a returning citizen, and the value of having been in recovery for 8, 10, 12, and now 33 years. And I started believing that, you know, if I just shared my hope to others that was hopeless, that the inspiration that I saw from leaders like Representative Dyson and the late Senator Edwin Gomes, and those people that I attributed to the fact that they were leaders, that I could be a leader. And one day I started recognizing that I was a leader because I was showing people how to find a way out of no way. So I'm so grateful to be one of the first grade 8. I'm so grateful to have had a collaboration of people that have inspired me to inspire myself. So thank you for allowing me to be on this platform this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Daryl, what does it mean to you to be part of this?
Yeah. You know, I got this jacket. That's what it means. It means I got this jacket. You see this jacket? Did y'all see this jacket? This is an exclusive club, man. It's like those green jackets on the golf course, man. You know what it is, man. It's an honor and a privilege to be a part of this. But this jacket is not about me, and it's not about the grade 8, man. It's really about, it is about those brothers and sisters that are in cells right now. As you know, it is 10 o'clock. They're getting ready for chow. They're getting ready for child. Those are brothers and sisters that are in the cell right now praying that there will be a system that they can transition home from and be successful. And we are hopefully paving the way for that. I remember when I came home, there was Daid McKnight, who I see on the call, Fred Hodges, Kenny Jackson. They opened the door and they held it open. And they said, come through, come through. I remember I was a fan. I seen Daid and Virgin, and I said, I want to do this work, man. I want to do this work. He said, brother, when you come out, we'll link up. And, you know, it's just been a go ever since. And I'm honored and a privilege. You know, I've been called a lot of things, criminal, crackhead, junkie, ex-con, but nobody ever put great in front of it. Ever was great was ever in front of that. But today, great is in front of something, you know. And I think LaResse said something about it was Black History Month. You know, I got out of prison June 10th, 2010 with a GED and 6 notebooks. You know, those composition books. My people that have been in prison, I see a lot of impacted people on the call. And I got out with those 6 notebooks, right? There go one right there. Thank you, LaResse. We got props and everything, man. We got props. We got jackets. Man, listen, this is how we do it. This is how we do it, man, right? So I got out with those 6 notebooks and a GED. Within a short period of time, I had numerous opportunities. This has been one of the best. but I was the director of the Office of Recovery Community Affairs for the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. And why do I bring that up? Because I was the first Black person to ever hold that position, right? The first criminal justice impacted person and the first person with an addiction background to hold that position. So it doesn't matter who comes next, but I was first. And my son, I will always say, he's always running around saying, Dad, who do I write about for Black History Month? I'm like, write about your boy, right? So I want to just say that this is the honor, man, Corrie, to have you moderate. And see, one of the things that I want to point out to everybody, the 133 people that are listening, everybody that you see that will be a moderator today is an impacted person. Because you know what? We're always second. We're always last to be called to the table. Today, we set the table. Come on, Corrie, where we going next, baby? Let's go.
I want to make sure I touch on Babs Rawls Ivy. I definitely want to give that opportunity for them to speak on why and what does the Great Eight.
Yes, Babs is not here. I believe she submitted a piece. I will look for that. I think she sent a statement. I'm going to look for that while you ask the next question.
All right. So the next question is, because again, right, as we look at this, we, to LaResse's point, like, and to Tiheba point, as far as bringing those behind us on, right? So what advice would you give those who are seeing your accomplishments and seeing what you're doing that may still be behind the walls? What advice would you give those individuals?
I'm going to respond first. That's a great question because I am the co-founder and co-director with Tracy Bernardi for Once Incarcerated, Once Inc. And, for short, we call ourselves Once In. And we get a lot of phone calls from men, women, family members, and a lot of the women who are currently incarcerated heard about the Great Eight, and a lot of family members for the men heard about the Great Eight, and they're all like, it inspired some people already to change their mentality while they're in so that they have something to aspire to when they get home. And that's all I ever wanted to do. Like when I was in prison, I was a beacon of hope, in a hopeless place. And I did everything and anything to make sure I never went back there unless I was going back there to help them come home. And I was making sure when I got home, I made it easier for when they got home that they would have a better, more easier path to success. Because I had to lie. I couldn't come out and say I'm formerly incarcerated. I couldn't come out and say, this gap in my employment was because I was incarcerated and I started my life anew. When I came home, there was no be in the box. When I came home, there was no real advocacy because it was taboo. The only people that was advocating was Bill Dyson, A Better Way Foundation, and that was it. In 2005 was my first Building Bridges. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the very first Building Bridges. And that's where I met everybody. And I learned that I could get a pardon. So Building Bridges helped me become the advocate I am because it connected me to A Better Way Foundation, Jackie with, the Connecticut Pardon Team. It connected me to Senator Winfield and Barbara Fear. And so even those who've been home, like Daeed and Fred Hodges and Fred Jackson, it's like, we've done this and we never wanted any reward for it. We just wanted to be respected. And to me, this is the highest honor of respect for anyone who has a criminal record. And as such, we have a responsibility to maintain greatness, regardless if we sick, regardless if we don't like it, regardless if we don't feel good. We represent something beyond ourselves and our selfishness.
So if I'm hearing you well, and correct me if I'm wrong, the biggest part of this thing is really networking and tapping into your resources prior to you getting out, and when you get out, making sure you stay connected to those resources. Okay, all right. Anyone next? What advice would you give those individuals who are, because we're gonna face those challenges coming out. It's gonna be times when individuals are knocking on doors and those doors are being closed. What do you tell those individuals?
I'll just jump in real quick, while my people is thinking about it. It's important, I'm trying to have a lot of fun with this because, man, it's like a family reunion to see so many people that I've known and done amazing work with. But, at the end of the day, it's about proper preparation for individuals, right? Making sure that these individuals have been prepared before they leave prison. But once they get home, make sure that we receive them right. And, I always talk to the brothers and sisters inside about the pebbles and the boulders, right? So the boulders are the things that we can see, but it's the pebbles that we don't think about. It's the little things that we did, and we thought we could go to our sister's house, and we thought this. So what I would say to answer that question, Corey, which is a great question, is you got to have a plan A, B, C, and D in this game, right? So you got to be prepared. You got to be fluid like water. You got to be able to move with the wind, because what you thought would happen necessarily might not be what you get out here to. And a lot of times you rush out here to get out here, and what you find is not what it is, right? Everything looks good. It's like the internet, right? It's like TikTok and Facebook. Nobody puts that they're getting evicted on Facebook. They put all the good stuff. So what people see when they're behind the wall is all the good stuff. They don't hear about the eviction. They don't hear about the COVID. They don't hear the jobs ain't there no more. So we need to let them know and prepare them for that when they come, when they return.
And that's good, because that's right into the question that I was gonna ask again, like, what should they expect? Like, what challenges are gonna be there? Like, because a lot of times, some people don't know that those challenges are there waiting them. And how do you navigate through those challenges, right? So I think that's very important. And being a part of that grade 8, whereas though, you guys found your footing outside of the walls, right? So with that being said, what would you tell those individuals who are coming behind us? How do you find your footing, right? Because it's so many times we want to give up on things and stop because of those roadblocks. What would you tell them, right? Because all of us have had them. So,
can I share? I was listening to LaResse and Daryl, and so the connection has to be there when is in the community. The support and resources is vital. One of the things that I've seen now that has been really helpful is engaging in our reentry collaborative roundtables around the state, where we can have a vast resource of support sitting at that table. And I tell people, the closed mouth don't get fed.
That's right.
Talk about what your needs are. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. So consistent persistence pays off. You got to go through a challenge, but keep pushing yourself, keep pressing. One of the things that I know is so supportive is having a mentor, somebody that, like me and Daryl and Dai is out there, have been out there. Get on our wings. Tell people that you're inspired to believe that there's some opportunity for you. You don't know how to go about it. You're willing to take the chance or push yourself, but know that there's places where you can sit at the table now and you can express your concerns. And certainly the last thing I want to share is anytime somebody meets a roadblock, it's only to push you to get through the next roadblock. So don't think that the roadblock is the last stop on the bus. Get off the bus and get on another one. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. That was great. And anything from you, Robyn, on what advice would you give those individuals?
Sure. One of the things that I think is really important to tell people, people are worried about hurry up, get out, get a job, get my kids, get my family, get. But, I noticed that now, different than 20 years ago, people can, basically get a job, but they can't keep it because they don't work on themselves enough to have whether it's daily living skills, the integrity, the grit to be able to do what it takes to fight every day to get to that job. And so, I think these are some of the things that having a mentor and having someone to ask, people don't, especially people in recovery, people incarcerated, people with their self-esteem way down low, are not good at asking for help. And so we have to just let people know that help is available. And, that's a fear people need to work on overcoming. And the roundtables and the reentry centers, we need more support through the connected reentry centers that we've started in different cities around the state. So, letting people know what's out there and how to get in touch with those things, because you can rattle off there's help available, but they don't know how to get to it because they don't have the actual information while they're still inside. And reentry needs to start the first day they get to prison, not like 8 days before they leave.
Okay, thank you. And I want to let Tiheba share on what advice she would give them, but then I want to go to the Honorable Rep Robyn Porter and have her read Miss Babs' statement.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so the advice that I will have is stay focused. No, I think it's imperative that the grade 8 be allowed to go into the prisons and give speeches and give presentations to the women and men that's coming home within 6 months' time. I think it's imperative that we, the people, the experts in this field, be allotted that time to do that. Because you ask, well, what can we do to them? We have all manners of people going into the prison system, telling them what they need to do when they come home for probation, what they need to do to comply with whatever requirements that they're needed to comply with. However, you're not telling them, and I'm gonna say us because it was me at one point, you're not telling us that it's a dichotomous shift that's gonna happen with us when we come home. You're not telling me that it's a psychological profiling that I'm gonna have to do for myself because things have changed after 20 years, after 10 years, after 5 years. And I'm not thinking on that because for me, time stopped. So you need people to go and tell the people, like, seriously, things are not the same when you come home. Things are not the same as if you went into the prison. Your people that you once knew or thought that was going to be there for you, even your family, may not be. You need people to be real with the people.
That's right.
Right? I don't need you to come in there and tell me, oh, I have a program for you and you need to sign on the dotted line and I'm going to get funding for you and I'm going to make sure you're going to get help. And then I'm still homeless. I'm still jobless. And I don't have any type of other resources or recourse to make my move from prison to society. So you need people, me, LaResse, Robyn, Daid, Daryl, Kelvin, Irene, and Michael, to go into these prisons and let them know the truth of reentry. Because the truth of reentry is more suffering than prison at times. Because the doors that's being shut in your face, we're not expecting that as much as it happens.
That's right.
I've never had a problem getting a job, ever. I came home from prison with a violent conviction behind me on hoovering over my head. I was headhunted by a second chance agency. And they knew I was incarcerated, but they didn't know the nature of my crime. So once they found out the nature of the crime was a violent nature, I was no longer appointed or given the opportunity to even move forward with the interviews.
Wow.
So you ask about what? Education was a catalyst for me. Education kept me. People that want to go to school, go to school. I promise you, it's good. This is the stuff that I'm going to tell you. It's a great thing. I'm about to take my LSAT in April 10th. You understand? I'm not giving up. And I'll tell each and every person, get a mentor.
That's right.
See, because when I was in prison, sitting in York Correctional Facility back in 1992, 93, somewhere along that, one lady came into the prison for me and spoke. And when she said, I was sitting in the same seats that you're sitting in, and I looked at her persona, and I looked at her character, and I looked at the way she dressed, and I heard the way she spoke, that was life-changing for me.
That's right.
It took a little time for me to get it, but I never forgot it. So with me, you want to know what I'm gonna give them. I'm gonna tell you guys. Let us back into the prisons to tell the people the truth.
That's right.
That's what you and then that's gonna keep them, because now they connect with me. They connect with LaResse. They connect with Tracy on the outside, but they don't know you. They don't know you, and if they don't know you, they don't want to be connected to you because they've been through this before. Oh, you say you this and you say you that, but are you really? But once I tell them, yes, I am, because I was you and you are me, and I am my sister's keeper, and I am the product of you and you're the product of me, that's what get them.
That's right. Okay. Thanks.
So
Thanks.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
That was awesome. So again, if I'm hearing right, I'm hearing you saying we go in, right, those who have been through, because we are, humans, we have to see it to believe it. So they have to see the grade 8 that, okay, I have a story. I am 184175. I'm not just this person coming in here. So thank you for sharing, sister.
Yes, 146799014. We will never forget those numbers.
So, Honorable Robyn Porter.
Wow, you want me to follow that? Oh my goodness.
Let's
oh
go.
My goodness.
We ain't playing no games. We're bringing straight heat right now. Let's go.
Well, Grand Rising Queens and Kings, it is an honor to be in your presence and to see you all reigning supreme. This is what I'm talking about. And this is what it looks like. And I mean, I'm just humbled. I'm humbled. Tiheba, I remember the day I met you. And I told you there was something in you, girl, that there was going to be some things that were going to be done by you that would be greater than you. LaResse, where you at, girl? I haven't seen you guys in so long. I miss you all so much. I love you. I'm
love you.
So inspired by you. I mean, you are a big part of the reason why I do the work I do. The wind beneath my wings, the ones that hold me up when I want to lay down. That's you guys. So thank you so much. I'm just really glad to be here and honored to read Queen Babs's message to you all. Unfortunately, she was unable to be at the conference because she's on air this morning from 9 to 11. But let me share her thoughts. She says that I am so sorry I'm not able to be with you all this morning. I appreciate greatly being linked and in community with the Great 8. None of us ever thought that anyone would bless us with an award of this nature. It feels amazing to be recognized and celebrated for the past we are blazing now. Thank you, King Charlie Grady and the Hang Time team, for your vision and support and love. It is my hope and the hope of the Great 8 to inspire and motivate folks to continue to create the life of their dreams in spite of serving time. Serving time is not the end, but the beginning of a new direction. We are living proof of hard work, commitment, and support of those who love us. Words of the great Queen Babs.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Yeah, let's go.
So I have, now this is another question, and I know that those who are looking, who are coming behind us, right, they would definitely want to know, what do you wish you would have known prior to or told before you came up out of those walls? Like, what will we go back and tell those individuals who are still there, who's coming behind us? What could we tell them? Because again, you know, hope is so easily lost when we're in those dark places.
I'll share real quick. You know, just reflecting on what everyone said, it was very powerful, and kind of piggyback on what a couple people said. But you know, one of the things that I had to learn was that when I was incarcerated with a lot of traumatized people, and oftentimes people get re-traumatized within the DOC system. So one of the many things that I've learned, and you know, I had opportunity in November to write a book called "Finding Freedom from Behind Bars: Our Journey of Self-Discovery and Healing." And one of the things that I had to work on is like I said earlier, doing the inner work. You know, understanding that you know I've been traumatized and I dealt with a lot of trauma, emotional distress, and toxic chronic stress, and I needed to address that, and even with a professional, because not only I was incarcerated physically, I was incarcerated mentally as well too, and that kept me in that very vicious cycle. So how do we break those chains of mental incarceration? We got to do the inner work. And what Daryl mentioned earlier is one of the keys to it, is just really create some goals for yourself while I was incarcerated. You know, just putting together a plan and a plan of action, you know, and really thinking about what you're going to do. Once I was able to find that mental freedom, okay, let's start to put my life together. What do I want to do when I get released from prison? And really connecting with those supports, you know, connecting to the reentry council. I have have an opportunity to be the community health worker for intercommunity health care, and I work in a transitions clinic where we work with people coming home from incarceration and connecting to integrated healthcare services. Because like what Robyn was saying, you know, we talk about these other things, reentry, which is very important, but it's so important that we take care of our mental and physical well-being as well too. Because formerly incarcerated people are 12 times more likely to die than the general population 2 weeks from the release. You know, a lot of it being overdose, suicide, homicide, different chronic health conditions that we experience. So addressing those issues that we need and gaining that support that we need to do that. And one of the things that really helped me while I was in prison and when I got out of prison was peer support. You know, I believe it's so important that we incorporate more people with lived experience being incarcerated, having experiences with addiction, mental health challenges. And, you know, when I was in prison, they had a peer mentor program, which I'm grateful for, because the people I was incarcerated helped me to get through those dark days. And when I got out, I got the same type of support from people with lived experience in their lives. So just really, you know, and expressing the importance of taking care of yourself and taking care of your well-being, putting together a plan and a plan of action and getting that support to do that, you know. And it's a process, like Daryl mentioned also. It's like you maybe got to go to plan B, C, D, E, F, and G, but it's okay, you know, because to me, that's part of the human experience. And let's normalize our human experiences.
That's right. All right, thanks, Cal. I have a question for Mr. Grady, because we're saying a great 8. Why not 10? Why not 11? I want to know why you came up with the number 8. And the reason why I'm asking you this, because biblically the number 8 means new beginning. So why did you think of the number 8?
You just answered it, Corey. Why you ask a question you know the answer? So that is in part, believe it or not. There's also 8 counties in the state of Connecticut, and I wanted representation from each county in the state. I did not want it to be just one area of the state, because I know the great work that people are doing throughout the state. So my attempt was to have a representation of all 8 counties in the state of Connecticut, so that we could absolutely make this a statewide initiative and not just a regional initiative.
Thanks. Panel, you know, again, being a part of this grade 8, I would definitely have to ask this question. Right now, you guys are in the prison. So how do you relate this to even your family members who once, you know, because you know a lot of times we go to jail and we're counted out, right? They y'all ain't gonna, and they see this. So how do you relay that message to them now?
So I'm just gonna keep it simple. I'm still trying to prove to my family that I made it and I made a significant change when it comes to my children who I went to jail for protecting me and them. And Charlie and I tonight on Upload will be discussing that at 7 p.m. with Mrs. Hines. But like, my children, I have a very estranged relationship because the way society and laws are and how I was projected returning home, how I was treated for everything. And so for my grandkids though, I'm amazing. I'm phenomenal. They like, I gotta keep getting on the honor roll. I gotta keep, Nani be moving and changing and stuff. So for the next generation here in Ohio with my sister and my sisters and their family, they see like, oh, if Auntie can do it or if Reese did it, then I could do it too. And even in this new community that I'm in, even at the local stores, the bodegos and stuff, they know me and they are inspired by what we're doing in Connecticut because I put out flyers and everything. And I wear my grade 8 jacket everywhere.
That's great. All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, Corey. I mean, that's a great thing. But it's interesting. There's 2 points I wanted to make really quickly because I see like 136 people on the call, and many times along this journey, because this is what it is a journey. There are many people along the way that make impacts for you along that journey, and it might not have always been that probation officer, but it was that probation officer that said you were better than this. It was that CO that took a couple of seconds. Kelvin triggered some memories in my mind of being in DOC, and not every experience in DOC was great, but when I was in those tier programs, there was always that one counselor that treated you like a human being. And if nothing else, we want this always to be centered around, when we started this and we had this conversation about this conference, it was about human rights, and it was about people being treated as humans. So the thing that Charlie did was bring humans back to the table, because see, the prison system, the criminal justice system dehumanizes people, right? So what we are trying to do through our process, through our examples, is show you that we are human, not only human, but we do some amazing things when humans are given a chance. So we just want to make sure that we reiterate that, so the people that are listening, because I believe in the ripple effect. When you throw a pebble in the water, it ripples out. There's 136 ripples on the call right now. So you can have a different, because sometimes you get jaded. You get caught up into the files on your desk. They become numbers. You just get the status quo, right? I'm just checking boxes. No, these are humans. You have an opportunity to send someone back home as a father, a mother, a citizen, by just one thing. And I'm always encouraging you to say, when a person sets foot outside of those prison walls, you say, welcome home, welcome home. So this is an inspiring time. And to answer your question, I just invite them over to dinner. See, before I couldn't do that. But some family members, you got to remind them. And you know what? It's not always about them. And all the time, I got one person that comes to my house, eats my turkey every Thanksgiving, and he says, good thing you stopped smoking that crack. I'm like, you in my house eating my turkey. But see, that's not about me. That's not about me. That's about them, because see, they are not where you are. So sometimes people need to remind you of where you came from, because they're not comfortable in their space, right? So sometimes I like to keep reminding them. Every time we show up today, we are showing up that we are still here and we are still making noise. Disruptors, that's what we are. We are coming through the wall. And I'm going to stop with this because we got plenty of time. I would love for us to get to some Q&A, because I don't want it just to be that. We want to hear what you got to say too. But this orange, you know what the orange means? Those of us that have been locked up, you know what that orange means. When they pull that orange jumper out, that means it's transportation time. So why do we wear orange? Because we are going someplace. Understanding, when you see the orange, we are on the move, and this is a movement. This is not a moment. Let's go.
I wanna piggyback off of that, please. May I?
Yes, that. We got
Okay, great.
20 minutes. We got 20 minutes for Q&A. So yes, so
Listen, I'm not even gonna take too long. You ask, what are we doing to try to prove to other people that we have come, for those that said we would never be or denied us within our transition? Is that the question?
I don't think prove, but how do you, because you, again, right, we get ostracized because we've done certain things.
Right, give me the question again. That's fine. I just want to make sure I'm gonna answer it correctly.
How do you, see, now you got me. I'm going off the dome. I'm one of those.
Okay, so don't worry about it. You said, how do we see? Okay, so for me, from what I got from what you were asking, like, how do we bring them to where we're at, right? Yes, so basically, I don't try to prove anything. I don't try to be something or someone I'm not. I show up and I be present and showing up. And they come around. They will see who I am by the work that I do and by the words that I speak. And if they don't, then that's on them. But I don't try to say, look at me now. My family, I had to cut them off. And when in me cutting them off in my process, they was like, oh, okay. See, because anything that's toxic and that does not have my best interest at hand, moving forward, I have to let you go. With love, I still love you, but I have to let you go. So it's no longer about me trying to prove or trying to show or trying to commit to what your expectations of me are. Because that keeps me bound. What it is that I must keep moving, and we're in a space in which God has given me. Too much is given, much is required. And for me to move into my gift, because my gift make room for me, I have to let go of what it is that people may perceive of me and may think of me, family, friend, or foe. And that's where I'm at with that.
Corrie, I just want to insert one thing here really quickly. Keep in mind that these members of the Grade 8 are being recognized for a body of work. It's not that they're being recognized for what they did in this current moment. We're talking about a consistent body of proving that they have made changes in other people's lives. We're talking about they were nominated by members of their own community, members that have worked for them, that have benefited from their work. There's a nomination process, and in fact, it's coming up again within the next month or so. I wanted to put that out there for everyone on the call. The nomination process is coming up. So if you know someone who you think is well deserving of being memorialized in the State Museum for life and long beyond life, make sure you nominate that individual for the work that they've done. But the key here is that these 8 individuals, and I could not be more impressed by the first class as I am with these individuals. They are in this class. They are the first in the country to be the Grade 8 because of their consistent, ongoing impact. Not just, I did a nice program and I got recognized for it. I want you to stop and think about the true nature of what we're talking about. Nowhere else in the country are people inducted and on a plaque. Their names will live on a plaque in a state of Connecticut museum long after me and Bill Dyson are gone. Long after their grandchildren can go and visit a museum and see their names for their accomplishments on a plaque in a state museum. That's a first. And the reason that's so significant is that too often, we acknowledge people's great accomplishments for the moment and we let it go. And then next week it's someone else, and next year it's someone else. This is the type of thing that they're being recognized for their full life's body work, with the struggles and the obstacles that they've overcome all included. So when their grandkids or their children or individuals that they might have been incarcerated with are still locked down, when they see the accomplishments of the Grade 8, you want to talk about inspiration? You want to talk about having a view forward? and how to potentially live your life by looking at a Kelvin Young, by looking at a Tiheba Bane, by looking at LaResse Harvey and Daryl McGraw and Michael Askew. Look at those people. Look where they ended up in life. That's the path that a lot of people are willing to. And for the first time, the state of Connecticut Department of Corrections is actually putting their stories into training facilities on tablets to act as inspiration for those. So keep in mind, this is way bigger, and I hope that it will be around way longer than all of us and all these faces on this screen.
Thanks for that clarity. I appreciate that.
Hey, Corey, real quick, we got to shout out Newgate and the homie Morgan and Elizabeth, you know, Newgate Prison, you know, that's where we're hanging at. You know, the grade 8 is memorialized there, and thank you for Newgate when, you know, make sure that you guys go check out those pictures in Newgate Prison, and shout out Morgan again and Liz for, you know, giving us the space, the opportunity, you know, to be able to be memorialized in a museum where people walk around and, you know, have so much judgment about prison and prisoners. But the first thing that you see is a group of successful people who have made it and transitioned from prison to success in life. And that no better place could we be than there. So I just wanted to make sure we shouted them out as well.
Thanks.
We got 2 minutes for Q&A, man. You can ask the crowd. Let's do it.
Any questions? I seen a couple of questions. They were asking how could someone be nominated?
Nomination, the nominations, Charlie. You want to tell them about the nominations real quick?
So there is going to be a form that will be posted on Hang Time's website. It's hangtimerealtalk.com. Hangtime, one word, realtalk.com. You will find the application and nomination form on there. All of the requirements are listed. It will also be on a new website that's coming out the end of this month. The Hall of Change now has its own website as well. And so you will find the application in both locations. If you go to Facebook, Hang Time, our Facebook page, you will also find the application for a nominating form. And we encourage everyone across the state listening, if you know the next Tiheba Bane, if you know the next Daryl McGraw, and they are out of incarceration, off of supervision for 5 years or more, those are the bare minimum requirements, off of supervision for 5 years or more to be eligible. And then you have to list their accomplishments in the community. What have they done to better their community and increase the quality of life in their community? It's a competitive process. There's a committee made up of people from the community as well as leaders, and members of DOC have a voice in this process as well. So they can also nominate. Politicians can nominate. Churches, community leaders, whoever wants to nominate. The more nominations that come in for an individual, the more attention that individual will get through the committee's process, and then those individuals be pared down to the next best group of 2021 grade 8. So right now you're dealing with the grade 8 of 2020, first class ever. The next group, our sophomore effort, the grade 8 of 2021. We need your help identifying those individuals and honoring those individuals in the same manner as this grade 8.
Okay, thanks. I have another question. They saying, how can probation take a more active role in support of justice reform efforts?
So probation and anybody else, and for people that would like to ask other questions, you could also raise your virtual hand. But for me, like, I think probation needs to work hand in hand with the community, right? And so we need that community support, but I'm always going to advocate for peer support. There's no better evidence-based practice than lived experience, right? So that mutuality of working with individuals that have transitioned, that successfully transitioned, like my partners here, my colleagues here on the grade 8. And there are many more that just that weren't recognized now or chose to remain to do the work that they do in the community, but that makes them no less great. But that you could tell by the moves that people make, and every community has one. Every community has one. So you need to be connecting with these individuals and utilizing, not using them, utilizing their expertise and paying them accordingly, right? We can't just ask people to come, tell their story about the worst time in their life, and then give them pizza. You know, pizza don't keep the lights on. Many of us, 135 of us, are very fortunate, whether you're at work or you're at home, that you're able to Zoom. That means you have internet, you have some type of electronic device, and you have the ability to do that. Well, not everybody has that. Not everybody has that ability, and it may be very hard for them to do that. So do not take any of this lived experience as for granted. There should be, people should be paid accordingly for their expertise. If you want an expert, you pay an expert, right? So I just want to make sure that we're saying that, and that we're being clear, that we're not just taking people and parading them out in front of people and asking them to talk about the worst time in their life, and then you go give them a sandwich from Subway and you tell them thank you while everybody else got paid. Those days are over.
I would like to say that one thing probation can do to help support reform is right there with your clientele. You ain't got to violate somebody because they got a dirty urine the first time, or the second time, or the third time. Obviously, they have an addiction issue. And then we need to separate those who use marijuana for PTSD and anxiety. You know, that, like, we can't be, sending people to jail for various different things, especially when it comes to behavioral and substance use disorder. Because we need to diagnose people, and we need to give them the services and connect them with the services that they need to be successful. Yes, it's case by case. You can't lump us all together, because there are some knuckleheads that will never, ever, ever learn. We're not talking about them. We're talking about the ones who are trying and struggling, and you know them more intimately than we do. And put on realistic expectations. Nobody's going to find a job in 2 weeks. You're going to violate somebody 2 weeks, and you should be up at the Capitol supporting any reform that comes up for people who are incarcerated to get better services, and people who are coming home to get better services. And I want to say this. The Justice Bureau has a second chance initiative out, but the only people who can apply is Department of Correction. How is that second chance initiative when that second chance initiative money, billions of dollars, need to be in the community? And re-entry centers need to be set up not just in our urban communities, but in our suburban communities, in our rural communities, where y'all breaking down the woods and building up, Dollar General. You need to build up a one-stop re-entry center that provides sober house services, and behavioral health services. Let's get real about how we're spending our dollars and our cents. Let's be more effective with our dollars and our cents. And years ago, we closed down 5 prisons. Where did that money go to? Was it reallocated to the education in the top 5, urban communities where a large percentage of people who are incarcerated come from? No, it was not. It went right back into Department of Correction. And I'm saying we need to take Department of Correction budget and split it between education and urban communities, and build some social services for reentry and substance use disorder in suburban and rural communities, because they need to stop taking urban community residents places. I'm just going to say it like that.
Thank you. The time is here. It was great. I all of my panelists, thanks for your transparency and your realness. I think it spoke to those who needed to hear. It definitely spoke to me. It was an honor and a privilege, man. Thanks for having me.